you motivated to draw? Ever thought about making your own Vtuber model and you researched a bit about it and people were bombarding you with, yeah, my first rig was around 100 layers. Yeah, I do a model with 250 layers yesterday. And you think to yourself like, I can even use more than 20. Then I'm gonna tell you in today's video how I made a completely viable live 2D model for like streaming or VTubing with exactly 17 layers. Hi, my name is Omaghad. I've been doing live 2D models and live 2D in general since 2024, and I always hated using like a lot of layers. Most of the time I ended up using 2 or 3 layers, what is not a good thing. There's the reason why live 2D artists use a lot of layers, but I'm gonna explain that later. My objective today was making a model with as few layers as possible. I was thinking a little bit about it, and in theory you can actually make a model with just 1 layer. Basically, you draw the entire model and you reassemble it back in Live 2D. It's like the texture atlas that many people know when they are Live 2D rigger. But that's far from effective and not as realistic in making like a normal model, you know? So let's try to combine a low amount of layers with an easy rigging experience later on. Let's start with the head. That's the place actually where most of the layers are. The mouth and the eye already take around 10 layers to even work. Here you can see like how I cut the different pieces of the face to make them work. Especially with hair, I would always suggest to use more hair than I did. I think the minimum amount of hair that you should use is 3 layers. You have the side hair and the back hair and the front hair. Basically, the side hair is very important because with Miyazaki we had the problem when we look to the sides, we look very bald. To fix that, it would be easy to have like a side layer. We can see over here that the eye doesn't have any highlight in it. You can still put highlights in there, that's in one additional layer. And the side lash, I separated it in Live 2D. I always do it like that, I don't know why. Future manga here. The thing with the eyes is actually that you don't have to draw both eyes on separate layers. I do both of those eyes on the same layer, and the thing that we basically done was I reflected to the side. I made a short about it if you're interested into how to do that. Basically, I just do them on the same side because it looks weird to only have one eye while rigging. So most of the time I keep them both there, but I remove actually one eye in the process. What else did I have? I was in jail for 3 months, yeah. I streamed from jail. Oh, I streamed in the hospital too, yeah. When it comes to the mouth, there's a lot of copying with the mouth that we did over here. The upper mouth flash, we have to copy this thing to the lower mouth flash, even though I don't really like this approach because the lower mouth flash can have a couple of more details in it, but in our case, we just copied the upper mouth flash. Mouth flash? Mouth lid? And put it to the lower one. And then we had like basically the same shape again. And then we had the inner mouth over here and the tongue. I explain later why we had to do the tongue separately. If you don't want a tongue, then don't get a tongue. It is just an extra layer. And I don't recommend it to fuse it with the inner mouth. I think it doesn't look good. The teeth were very simple. Even when you use normal human teeth, you can just take the lower teeth and put them as the upper teeth. You can actually do side teeth too, but it would give you another layer, of course. And it would help a lot to give the mouth a little bit more of a 3-dimensional effect later. The reason why we drew the tongue separately was because the angles. When we look to the sides, you want the tongue to move. If the inner mouth is fused with the tongue, you cannot do this 3-dimensional effect, or at least it's very hard to do this 3-dimensional effect. We go over here, we have the neck. And there's the thing that I forgot, actually. We don't need a neck shadow. The thing that you can do is copy your face and put it on multiply and give it a screen color to create a neck shadow, basically. So we don't have to do it as a separate layer. I didn't do that. I forgot about it completely. But let me tell you and show you how I did it. And it already moves with our head when we look down, when we look up. So it's already calibrated. When you rigged your face already, you don't have to rig the face shadow. You just drag it down a little bit with a warp deformer and it's in place. The neck was another piece that I could not separate. You have to separate the neck because it cannot be combined with anything. Makes sense. While we're here at the body, I would recommend, if you want to rig something more complicated, then separate the arms. And the clothing, of course. Always better, but in this case, we just fuse everything together except the neck piece, and that's it. Our entire upper body is just this huge clump. And it actually works, you can use it like this. And it was looking pretty okay. The more you separate, the more movement you have. The minimum I would recommend to rig, like I already said, separating the arms, the hands, and let's say this poncho looking thing, I would separate that too. But if you're too lazy, you don't have to separate the hands. In the beginning, who's rigging the hands, you know? You can do that, but we're here to be efficient. And moving the entire hand in one piece is already enough most of the time. The lower body is... I don't know if I cheated there a little bit, because that's how I normally do it with a lot of models. I draw the lower body as one solid piece. And as you can see, the shoes are connected and the left and right leg are connected with the hip. I just did the thing I was telling I was not going to do. I separated them in a mesh, and I don't know, I always did it like that because it was just easier for me to combine the two together. And most of the time I was way too lazy to cut the drawing into those three pieces. Normally you would cut the shoes and you would cut left and right leg and the hips separately. Get a little bit of undercolor there to have like more leeway if there's maybe a hole or something, you know, and then it would be fine. But in our case we just did it like this and it works completely fine. And when you look at it, that is basically the result. And you can even make it more complicated by drawing it a little bit more flashy. Let's say it like that. Our model here looks like she doesn't want to be here. And as you already might see, my art is not like professional. It is a very simple small model. And when we go here to the rigging part, you can see I was going fairly easy into this because I always used to rig with a very small layer count. I think Kiba was around 21 layers and Akebi was 40 layers. The highest count of layers that I got was I think 250 with one of the older models. The range of this model has some limits because we cannot put things behind each other. Like let's say with the arms. When we go to the sides, we cannot do a very good rotation with the upper body because I cannot move the left or right arm behind the body without separating it. As you can see, think about it as a three-dimensional object right now. We are actually just moving a two-dimensional object like a skewer. So we're just stretching and turning it without actually layering, without putting things in a three-dimensional space like you would normally, you know. So that's why this model has definitely some limitations, but it definitely works, and most of the people that I know would be totally fine with having a model like that. So if you're too lazy and you just want to start with Live 2D and you are intimidated by having 250 layers and stuff like that, I recommend you to try this out. Many people that I see that start Live 2D, they are mortified from the idea that they have to do 250 layers. When you're a little bit more professional rigger, the more layers you have, the more usage you can get out of it. More decoration, more hair strands, more versatility. The more you work on a model, the more layers you can use in the end. And it maybe starts with 50 or 30, 10, I don't know. And it could end up being like at 300 and it would be the same feeling. So it's just like a learning curve. And I would recommend you to not get overwhelmed by a huge amount of layers and start with something small. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Miyazaki Tayo is her name. She's on my Ko-fi for free, of course, like always. Was fun making this video. I wonder, what do you guys like want to watch actually when it comes to Live 2D? I'm actually doing a lot of other stuff too. Like I want to do some streaming tips or whatever, audio tips, whatever, like drawing tips maybe too. Whatever you guys are interested in, just tell me. I would like to hear them. We're gonna see us next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye. Oh, before you go, I'm streaming every day around 4:30 p.m. to, I don't know, when I want to stop, most of the time after 4 hours, on my main channel, Omaghad. Nice to meet you. I hope we can see us over there. I wish you a blissful day again.